We all experience those moments in life when we want to crawl up into a little ball and just disappear because of the emotional pain that we're feeling. And this pain might be caused by others, like someone we really love, like our spouse, who maybe said or did something that really hurt us. Or we might be the source of our own misery, our thoughts that plague us on repeat. Pain is a part of the human experience, but how we deal with that pain is what will be the difference between crying ourselves to sleep and feeling awful, or allowing the experience of pain to help us grow emotionally. So a few nights ago, I was hurting. I'm going to spare you all the personal details, but the bottom line was I was feeling sad, hopeless, and fearful. And all of a sudden I became aware, as I was going through this experience, that I unconsciously developed a process to help me manage this pain. A process that helps me to fall asleep instead of having to pop a sleeping pill. So naturally I wanted to share this with you guys because if it helps me, it's likely and quite possibly going to be able to help you. So the key for this process to work is that you have to be willing to see things from a meta perspective, okay? So the idea is to zoom out, because usually when we're in a state of suffering, when we're feeling pain, when we're sad, we're at a lower level of consciousness and we are not able to always see the truth. When we're at this level, we're kind of we're seeing things from a very narrow perspective and from the first person point of view. So the problem with that is that it's limiting. And from the meta perspective, think of a bird, the bird has a bird's eye view. From this perspective, you can see the situation differently and you can now draw more empowering conclusions. Now, in order to view things from this meta perspective, you need to be willing to let go of your bullshit. We all carry bullshit. The bullshit wants to creep in, and the bullshit wants to get in the way from us seeking the truth. So your commitment to seeking the truth has to outweigh your ego's desire to allow your bullshit to creep in and poison you. Okay, so just keep that in mind when I'm going through this process with you, because the bullshit will try and creep in every now and then. And if you let it, it will take you away from actually allowing yourself to heal. Okay. Now, I also want to mention, there's science to this. The reason I'm telling you to see things from a meta perspective is because I'm trying to actually help you alter your brainwave state. Because when you're in the place of pain and suffering, you're probably operating on low-level beta wave frequency. And that's where there's more anxiety, there's more stress, and you're not able to draw conclusions that are going to empower you. When you can shift your brainwave state to an alpha brainwave state, that's the place where you want to be, because that's the place where you can actually create solutions, where you can actually heal, where you can see things from a higher perspective that's going to allow you to do everything we're doing right now. So I actually went and did a brain wave training. I went to the Biocybernaut Institute in Arizona for 7 days. I was hooked up to electrodes and I was measuring my brain waves. And that's what this is. So this is a little hack. The hack is to be aware that if I'm stressed, I'm in beta. And if I want to get better, I need to shift to alpha. And part of that is kind of having that higher perspective. Now, to help get into the mind space where you can see things from that meta perspective, it really helps to start with some deep breathing. So if you've been crying a lot, or if you have had shallow breathing, the deep breathing is going to really help. So practice taking 5-10 deep breaths and hold at the top when you inhale. Hold it there, because it's that space where you're not breathing that there's a soothing effect to it. It's that space of nothingness, that space of emptiness. So hold it at the top, and when you exhale, hold it at the bottom, okay? So you're looking to create that space because you might find tranquility in that space, and it can help you come into a less stressful state. Now, the first thing I do is I like to remind myself of some truths. because when I'm in a state of suffering, there are some truths that I just forget, right? I get so caught up in my own suffering that it feels like the world is over and that there's no end to this, and I forget all the things that I've learned in life. So I like to remind myself of those things. One thing I remind myself is that all anxiety is fear. So all the stress, the anxiety you feel throughout the day, the root of it is fear. And I remind myself that ultimately all fear is illusory. That's right. So if even the fear of losing the body, right, with age or due to accident, if I cut off my thumb, am I still going to be me? If I cut off my arm, am I still going to be me? Even if I got a heart transplant, I would still be me because I'm not the body. So ultimately, all fear is illusory. I also remind myself that the past does not equal the future. And this is important because the reason that we have a lot of fears is because of our past experiences. We were hurt in the past, something happened in the past, and because that happened, now we carry this fear with us of it happening again in the future. And so remind yourself that the past does not have to equal the future unless you're going to continue bringing the past into the future. So let go of what happened. Today is a new day, and the past does not have to be the way it always will be. I also remind myself that everything is a gift. And this is a choice to see things from this view, to choose to see that life is offering me gifts. I think you can find the gift in everything if you are willing to look for it. And sometimes you're not ready to look for it. But when you're ready, you'll find the gift. And so reminding yourself that maybe I don't see it right now, maybe I won't see it tomorrow, but ultimately there is a gift in this. And if you will push yourself to try and find what that gift is, even if it's a small little gift, that will help you in your healing. I remind myself that it's good to have challenge in life. It's through the challenge that we grow the most. And it's when we are on our knees that we get to know God. So there's a lot of benefit in struggle and in challenge. If life was so comfortable, so cushy, you wouldn't really have a reason to grow. You wouldn't have a need to grow. And growing is one of the most fulfilling experiences in life. To grow as a person, to grow into the person that you are meant to become. So challenge has a lot of value, and to think that you want a life without challenge is actually quite naive. And it's funny because what you come to realize is that sometimes when life is going so well, we create our own problems in life because we want some variety. We want to mix things up a little bit. We unconsciously bring problems into our life, or drama, or find an excuse to cry, to bring out emotion, because that's the beauty of life. There's so much to experience, and there's a whole spectrum of emotions to experience in life, right? There's the happy, the joyous, the peace, all the good emotions. But on the other side of that spectrum, there's also the anger and the stress and the sadness, and these are also part of this spectrum. And as human beings, we were created to be able to experience this full spectrum. And so that's why I also remind myself that it's part of the human experience to feel pain. It's okay to feel pain. In fact, it's a good thing to feel pain. It means you're human. If you didn't feel pain, you'd have a very unique experience of life. So remind yourself that it is okay and it's welcome emotion, because it's when you suppress your emotions that you're really causing damage. So what's important is to allow your emotions to cycle through, to feel your emotions, whatever comes up, and as it arises, allow it to arise without judgment, and that's how the emotions will cycle through. I remind myself that everyone is innocent because of their ignorance, myself included. And if we knew better, we'd do better. I remind myself that behind the fears and the traumas, everyone just wants to love and be loved. And so if you can see beyond the exterior, beyond the wall that's put up, beyond what the trauma has created, if you can kind of dig deeper than that, you can see that at their core, people just want to love and be loved. And that allows you to lead with your heart and to see the innocence in everyone and to love on everyone. Because you see, this is what the greatest need is. I remind myself that people can only make me feel hurt when I give them that power. Because ultimately, how I feel is up to me. Nobody has the power to control how I feel. So keeping your power means that I become aware of how I'm registering an experience. I'm going to give you an example. Twins grew up with an alcoholic and abusive father. One of the twins turns out to be a drug addict, and he says, well, what do you expect from me? Look at the father I grew up with. The other twin grows up and he starts his own family so that he can become the father that he never had. And he says the same thing. What do you expect from me? Look at the father that I had. So they both had the same experience in life. You know, they're twins. They both grew up with the same father, but they each chose to do something different with it. They each chose to register that experience differently. And that resulted in two very different outcomes for their life. Gabor Mate is someone that I recommend you guys research if you do have trauma. He has done a lot of work and he's written many books on trauma. But one thing that stands out to me is how he talks about how trauma doesn't arise from what happened, from the event itself, but actually it's our reaction to the event and how we process it. That's where the trauma arises. So I definitely recommend looking into some of this stuff if you guys are dealing with traumas, because trauma is the root of a lot of our suffering and addiction later in life, and it carries with you. And because when you're young and you have traumas, you don't have the emotional capacity to deal with it at the time. So as an adult now, you can become aware of them and you can process them so that you can be liberated and move on with your life. I remind myself that this too shall pass. When we're in that state of suffering and pain, it feels like it's going to be forever, that this is what we're stuck with. But remember that nothing in life is permanent. Everything's transient, and this too shall pass. And I remind myself again that part of the human experience is to feel pain at times. It's a beautiful experience, and part of the way that we know how good it feels to be happy and joyous is because we've had that experience of pain, right? The duality of that. We know what it feels like to not feel so good, so we appreciate feeling good even more. So the next thing I'll do is I allow any emotions to come up that come up, okay? So if it's to cry, cry it out. If it's to scream, scream. If it's to laugh, laugh. We all process pain differently, but the point is to allow yourself to experience whatever comes up, because as I alluded to before, it's important that we go through the experience and experience the emotion, because what a lot of us will do is suppress it because we think it's bad to experience these emotions, or we think it makes us look weak. But actually what you're doing then is it's stacking inside of you, and one of these days you're going to implode. And so the key, if you really want to be free from it, is you allow yourself to experience the emotion and it will cycle through. So if it's to cry, cry it out, because you're going to run out of tears eventually, and the emotion will cycle through and you're going to feel a lot better. And then I also remind myself that I can let go. So whatever it is that I'm holding on to, become aware of what are you holding on to that's perpetually making you feel this pain. You know, what thought, what belief are you holding on to? And remind yourself that you have the choice to let it go. It's within your power to let it go. And the next thing I like to do is very powerful, and that's prayer. So if you're religious, you can pray to your God. Otherwise, you can just pray to whatever you believe is a higher power. You know, whatever force you believe is that, you know, what created this entire beautiful universe. Whoever you want to pray to, I actually really don't care. The point is that you are praying to something beyond yourself. And you're praying for those who hurt you and for yourself. So if someone was the culprit of your suffering, that day that someone hurt you, someone said something or did something, pray for that person. Pray for that person. So you might pray that that person be healed. You might pray that that person can be happy in life. You might pray that that person can love fully without so much resistance. So pray for ultimately their healing and for wisdom. And pray for your healing and your wisdom. Wisdom is what we want. Intellect is nice, but wisdom, that is valuable. So with wisdom, we can really learn to understand ourselves and others and move more freely through life without so much resistance. So pray for that wisdom. And then I like to express my gratitude. Gratitude is a very powerful tool that I'd like you guys to try and incorporate more into your day. Have moments where you can be grateful for any little thing, whether it's the sun shining on your face, or the water in the ocean, or the rain that's coming down, or this cup of lemon water, or your dog that you love so much. Like, be grateful, because being in a state of gratitude is a very powerful state. When you're in a state of gratitude, you're not able to be angry. You're not able to be resentful. You're not able to be sad or upset. You're just grateful. You're at a higher level of resonance. And so express your gratitude for all the gifts in your life. And you look for the gifts. Everyone's got gifts in their life. And you also express your gratitude for the assumed blessings that are taking place, for the assumed healing that's taking place right now. Assuming that, yes, because I've asked, it shall be given. So in your prayers, you are grateful for those blessings. You're grateful for the healing. You're grateful for the gifts in your life. That's when you're truly going to see it manifested in your life. So that's the process. And if you'd like, at the end of it, you can say an ancient Hawaiian prayer called the Ho'oponopono prayer. And it's a prayer of forgiveness, healing, and making things right. And it's short. It goes, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So you can say it for yourself first. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. You can say it for the person who was part of your experience. You can say it to the people, all the people in your life that you love, and all the people you don't know in your life. And so what you'll notice from this process that I share with you is that what we're trying to do is get outside of the state where we're so narrowly focused on our problem, and we're so focused on the pain, because whatever you focus on, you're going to bring energy to, and it's only going to grow. And what you instead want to be focusing on is all of the other good, reminding yourself of all the truths that you somehow forgot for the moment of suffering, and bring yourself, elevate yourself at that higher level, that higher frequency that's going to allow you to heal, that's going to allow you to see things from that meta perspective, that's going to allow you to be at that level of love where you can actually heal yourself and heal others. That's the place of power. So that's what I want to share with you guys. That's my little process that I guess I unconsciously created this process, that I became aware of myself going through it as I was, hurting the other day. And I want to remind you guys that there's nothing wrong with feeling sad. There's nothing wrong with hurting. Sometimes you just need to cry it out, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to experience emotion. It means that you're human. Imagine if you couldn't shed a tear. That would be something to cry about. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. And If you like this content, please subscribe and hit the bell symbol so that you can get notified when I make videos like this next time. I'll see you later.